Let's talk about knockdowns.
Hey, what's going on? This is Jim with Real World PDR Training, and today we're looking at knockdowns. There's all kinds on the market. It's confusing to shop for them, so let's take an in-depth look at what they all do.
Don't get overwhelmed by an overabundance of this type of tool on the market right now. Let's examine them.
I've said it before, spanning all the way back to the beginning of this YouTube channel, that knocking down, I believe, is in fact more important than pushing when it comes to the quality of your finished repair. With so many choices on the markets for knockdowns today, it is really confusing and overwhelming if you're a new tech. Well, let's demystify some of this and let's take a look at these tips, these knockdowns, and what are they really for? How many do you really need?
When dealing with something that you're slamming and jamming against the finish of the car you're working on, yeah, it kind of pays to be diligent about what you're using. Does anybody need as many knockdowns as I have? Meh. Probably not, but I would like you to get at least 3 or 4 basic categories. Stand by because we are getting ready to do a real quick rundown of the knockdown. So just like this dent available in a lesson at realworldpdr.com, it's going to go through phases. Not every type of knockdown tip is going to be relevant in every phase. So while you can get away with less than I have, it is important to have some options on your tool cart.
There's all kinds of categories of knockdowns. There's all kinds of materials they use. Let's take a look at some of the most common ones and what they do. Let's take a look at slapper tappers and wide crown knockdowns.
If you've watched very much of this channel, you have seen me use the hell out of a slapper tapper. Also, I just got the Craftsman tips from Carbon-Tech, that's who it was. This type of tool is going to move large areas of metal as cleanly as possible. It's not terribly accurate, obviously it's got a wide surface, but for smacking the hell out of nice soft crowns, these are what you want. You may remember this video. This was actually the first tutorial that I had ever uploaded. The response was phenomenal, and here we are. Now, I recommend you go back and watch that tutorial because I explain a slapper tapper in depth. I really believe in this tool. It does its job, and it has the added benefit of you can actually shoot metal. You can move metal, push it, pull it, whichever, depending on the angle of your slapper. It takes some getting used to, but once you figure this tool out, it is invaluable on all big smash work. Here I'm going to use some of those Craftsman tips to knock down these nice, soft, by soft I mean that hump there doesn't have a whole lot of tension. And by using a wide soft tip like this, I can get it down very smoothly without the hassle of a lot of extra texture.
You've got soft tips.
Now these I don't use personally a whole lot. I like to use my hammer more, but some good examples are the Crown Killer from Edgy Tools and just about every soft tip pushing cap ever. So buy any tip that accepts those black rubberized caps and you're fine. It's going to be a lot more accurate than a slapper tapper or a Craftsman style hammerhead, but it will be slightly more apt to cause texture. But in all honesty, it's relatively safe. You've really got to screw up. So here you can see we have these humps caused from a doodah trying to rough this very large fender dent out. This is a common look for that rough out phase for these very large dents. And that's where these rubber capped or soft cap knockdowns shine. The soft cap prevents a lot of sharp texture, but you regain quite a bit of accuracy over that slapper tapper or Craftsman tip type knockdown. These are also good for areas that are holding a little more tension, like right here. So that's going to be a little bit too hard. That's what I mean. You could tell there's an area with tension if it's hard. Now you don't want to hit this with another hard surface. So that soft tip really has a good way of kind of pushing through that tension without texture like any kind of metal or polymer tip would. You won't grab these real often, but you'll be glad you have them the time you need them. Moving on, what we got good looking?
Wide tips.
These are my new favorites. Now, they're relatively new to me, and I find it completely fascinating the way these things move metal. So I can't even articulate what using one of these is like. It's something that you really have to experience, but know that it's somewhere between a soft tip and something you would reach for every single day. It's got all of the accuracy of an everyday type knockdown, but it's still pretty difficult to cause texture. Now, if you are whacking against a area that has a lot of tension, they'll still cause texture like any hard surface will. Now, don't let that scare you because these things are awesome. Now, two of my favorites, one is actually a blending tip that I've kind of converted into a knockdown tip. hey, this is PDR, we do what we want. And that is the knocker from Edgy Tools. Now, I would sure as hell hate to lose my knocker, but I'm going to tell you right now, my hands down favorite is this directional knockdown from VIP. Man, I find myself reaching for this thing all the time. It actually gives you better vision than the knocker does because, you know, it's kind of like a circle with just the center cut out of it. And the way the edges are beveled, man, you can really flow crowns like I have never been able to do before. This is, I'm going to say, one of those must-have tips. If you are a brand new tech, hey, I wouldn't sweat trying to buy one of these things, but if you do have a little bit of experience under your belt, past your, very basic, your first Delrin or your first everyday knockdown that's nice, this, I believe, should be your next purchase. This type of tip is also super nice for knocking down any kind of soft waves like I'm doing here. Now, from this angle, you can hardly see anything's there, but I can. And since this fender repair is pretty well done, honestly, I don't want to take a chance of texturing it up any more than I have to. So knocking down those crowns with that big, wide tip is really nice. Next up is the
everyday tips.
If you have to have one knockdown rolling around your pocket, it's going to be one of these things. The tip's not going to be crazy sharp, super accurate, but if you slow down, you can knock down just about anything with it. Over push marks, like you can see in that red circle, are perfect for this, but you can also knock down crowns with it. You just got to slow down versus a flat tip or a soft tip. Like I said before, if you only have one knockdown, it's going to be this one. It is accurate, but if you are aggressive, it will texture up a panel. But for the most part, everybody has one of these. Your very first knockdown is going to be about this kind of contour. So if you are looking for your very first knockdown, look for something about like that. Edgy Tools has one, VIP, everybody has one. They're not hard to find, and honestly, it really doesn't matter. All of these are pretty stout and durable. You're not going to get a whole lot of flare on your polymer or plastic types, and the metal types are relatively safe, but they still may mark the paint. I've never done it with my this size of VIP knockdown, but do make sure that there's no metal flakes or that there's no sharp edges and that you have your metal knockdowns polished. Now onto the ones that I really, really love.
Precision tips.
These things are fine-tuning machines. These are going to be the things that make your repair dead nuts perfect. They'll make your texture perfect. If you do have tiny little sharp pimples in there, these bad boys are the most accurate of the bunch, and so you'll be able to get those without affecting surrounding metal. Because there's not a ton of material at the tip of these, any kind of plastic precision knockdown is going to have a tendency to warp. Now, you can sharpen them, and I tell you how at realworldpdr.com. And if you do choose the metal type, it can very likely mar the paint, mar the clear coat of the panel you're working on. So if you're using any type of precision metal knockdown, understand it has to be polished at all times. And it needs to be polished to at least 2000, preferably 2500 grit. But once you get it there, these things are awesome. Also just know that if you have just heated your panel, that clear coat's gonna be a bit softer and it's gonna be more likely to mar. Now these things are also great for any kind of precision work. Now here I'm widening a dent that I had glue pulled. Accuracy and precision in this scenario is paramount, or else I'm just going to create more work for myself. I really like these tips. That is your super fast, super basic rundown of all things knockdown.
So I'm not a guy that's going to buy one knockdown. So for instance, the new VIP knockdowns, I actually bought 3. That's because I like to have all my tips available right now. I don't have to be searching around for a different tip all the time. Now, that's all changed a little bit thanks to this little beaut. What that is the Willy Quick knockdown. Now, when I first saw these things, I was skeptical to say the least, but this system right here, check it. That's a magnet. And if there's one thing for certain, it's that dent guys love magnets. So if I'm changing my tip out, I don't have all of them that are equipped with a magnet right now, but pull the last one off. It's that simple. This is a really great and creative idea. The companies that I think are killing it in the knockdown game as of right now, and this is in April of 2019, is VIP. They're definitely putting out the best metal knockdowns out. That directional tip I am a huge fan of. and Woody Cause, my friend, with Dead on Dent Tools. I cannot say enough about this material. So this is the firing pin. Now, this is one of those kind of transition knockdown tips. It's not real super precise, but it's definitely a little bit thinner than your everyday. The material that Woody uses on this is phenomenal. It's super hard, it doesn't warp, everything is great. And let me tell you, he might be my buddy, but he doesn't like me enough to ever pay me to advertise one of his products. So believe you me, whenever I say that he is actually doing it, he's actually doing it. These are great tips. I recommend you check them out. So let it be known that when I first started, and even up into, let's say, the midway point of my career, I never had this many knockdowns. But being that I am the dent tools freak, I had to try them. And nowadays, I choose the correct knockdown for the correct situation every time.
This was a quick lesson recommended by a member at www.realworldpdr.com. I also felt like my YouTube subscribers could probably benefit from this as well. So enjoy it. I hope it does something for you. As always, get a hold of me at denttoolsfreak@gmail.com if you have any questions. Also, I'd like to point out that every single example that we use today is a lesson that is currently at realworldpdr.com or is coming to realworldpdr.com. Like this one about aluminum repair for beginners. For less than the price of your morning cup of coffee, you could be well on your way to a career in paintless dent repair. Don't take it from me. Let's see what Ryan has to say about us.
Hey guys, so when I started training with Jim, it was like a light switch literally was flipped. The way he describes the task that you're trying to achieve is so much different than everything else that I heard. It really made things just click in my mind. And I immediately, literally within 15 minutes, was improving. It just made me think of the things different, the tasks, the metal, the tools. It made me think of everything different and immediately improved my work. I mean, I immediately saw results. And the patience that he has for describing those things or finding the right description is ridiculous. I think I've had him explain a few things 4 different ways just so I can understand it. I highly recommend him for training, and if you get a chance, I recommend you jump all over it. Get it.
Pow, my man. This is what realworldpdr.com is about. I want to help you become the best tech that you can. There is no sales gimmicks. This is all about you becoming the best PDR tech that you can possibly be. Hey, thank you guys so much for your current and continued support, and I will see you on the next one.